Think it. There we go. Okay, well, good morning. Today is Tuesday, November 19th. I'm Christina Dillabo, Director of Communications for the Desert Southwest Conference. This is Tuesday Talks, weekly-ish gathering with church communicators and pastors to answer some questions that I get via email, to share what's coming up on the event calendar, and just get advice from each other. We had a question a while back about social media support for local church. And rather than hearing from me, I decided, well, let's see if Stephen Adair is available to connect with us on Tuesday Talks. And he is. He said he would do it. He's here. Um, Stephen's a member of Glendale UMC in Nashville and the director of local church marketing services with United Methodist Communications. Is that still your title, Stephen, or did that change?
Currently, officially it is, but I think it'll
Okay.
be director or I don't know, team leader of denominational partnerships moving forward.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, lucky we got you while you're still in that
Interim
middle of the
space.
road. Yeah. 'Cause Stephen's had a ton of great content online, both I've noticed it's a reflection of what you've done at your church and have really succeeded on it. But then also in your role, you learn new things, you help other churches, and so he's a great person to have to answer the questions from our churches about social media, how to up your game. Should I do this? Should I do that? Stephen, do you want to share a little bit, or should we just jump into the Q&A?
Sure. I'll just a little background. You've already done some of that for me. I do like to share when I'm with local church leaders that I am United Methodist. I've grown up, born and raised in the same church, which is Glendale UMC in Nashville. It was a church of my grandparents' generation. They started going there in the 60s. I watched it do a slow death, my first 30 years of life. And in this last 7 years, we've really turned it around to be I hate to use cliche words, but thriving, vital congregation again. In 2017, we got down to around 25 in average worship attendance, which was not sustainable. And now I would say we have about 200 active people.
Wow.
So that's quite the turnaround. And if we can do it, other people can do it. But there's just a lot of things. We made a lot of changes all one Sunday. I like to share that with local churches. That's not really social media per se. But our churches have a habit of changing things so slowly that people don't really notice because we don't want to upset or, anything like that. We did it one Sunday. We lost some people because of those changes, but we have gained, and it's not about the numerical growth. It's about just how these people's stories that come and how they've been hurt by the church. So we've gained so much more than we lost. And we were being held back by some of that, what I call old Glendale, and just the ways that we have always done it. So anyway, I just always like to share that because sometimes we need to take risks. And if our churches are nearing the end of their current season, it can't really lose much. So I also hope to empower churches to take some more risks than we are usually doing. So, but I will jump into some of the questions that were submitted, and then we can just chat through some other things if that comes to mind, and I'll touch on a few things too. So the first one was recently assumed duties of social media communication for our church. We had a consultant prior to my taking over. He was posting 4 times a week. So the question is, is there a formula of perfect posting, this sort of thing? I always tell our churches, don't post things just to post. I think we have some inclination we need to post every day, or there's some minimum time a week, or there's some perfect number. I do share like at least 3 times a week is just good, just to kind of keep that content going. But again, sometimes even with our Facebook page, and I'll mention most people that come to find our local church to like come visit, they find us from our social media presence and from our website. So, it's not because of people inviting, it's not because they drove by, it's not, those sort of kind of more traditional ways. It's actually our online presence. So a lot of our churches still live in this space where marketing seems inauthentic, or the church shouldn't be doing that or whatnot. I think we need to reevaluate that mindset. But I don't think there's a perfect formula. I know some churches are really stuck on, Monday we're going to have the pastor's note, or Tuesdays we have, this one said even a core value, explaining core values of the church once a week. I think we need to kind of re-envision some of that too. So I always look at, I would rather even for us not post if the person seeing it from the outside point of view isn't going to be at least pique their interest or be curious on maybe I should give them a chance or maybe I should go visit them or something like that. And of course, not every post provides that space, but always looking at everything we do that somebody on the outside of the church sees, will that kind of, is there curiosity? Will it kind of connect them? Is there a connection point here? And that doesn't mean it always being an event post or always being invitational. It can just be showing who your community is. I think people who are looking for a church, yeah, they want to know what you believe and if you're inclusive or if you're not, or those sort of things too. But also they want to see the people in your community. How in pictures and video can you show who you are instead of just word vomit in long posts that people aren't going to read anyway. So I think there's so much opportunity that our churches typically don't take advantage of just to show the story of their church. And I'll share my screen here in a minute just to kind of, I'm not saying that we do it the best, but I think we're doing it pretty well. So I think that there's some at least some things that other churches could do like we do that would be helpful for them in reaching new people. Um, there's a question about AI tools to help with social. I'll just be honest, I'm not the biggest user of AI tools for social media. I'm sure there's a place. I mean, it can write you great posts. It can write you a sermon if you want. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but it can do that. So ChatGPT, you can put in there, and even if you have a post that you think just didn't written that excitingly or it's just kind of bland, you can put it in there and just tell it to rewrite it. So that might be a helpful thing just to kind of make your post sound better if you're not a writer. So I could see that. And somebody else might have more thoughts on AI tools. Another question is sharing event information on the website, which is better on the website as a Facebook event or a flyer and an email blast. I think all of the above. So I mean, if we have, we just had, let's just take an Easter egg hunt or a trunk or treat or a special service. Um, we have a Facebook event, of course, and I encourage all of our members. I might be saying things that are very obvious, but I think a lot of our churches still don't do them. So I will, say it anyway. A lot of our churches, don't encourage their members even to engage on their social media. So from time to time in worship during the announcements, I'll just remind people that when they see a Facebook post or a Instagram post or whatever they see online from our church, hey, be sure to engage with that, like it, share it, comment on it, because if our people are already engaging with it, and not just letting it pass by. That's free, reach from their friends on Facebook, and at least there's that kind of connection point to help. So I make sure to remind your congregations to also engage with your social content. But as far as the event, Facebook events are great because they can invite their friends on Facebook, and then also promoting it across the board. So on their website, we have I take advantage of a page on our website. I call it it's glendaleumc.org/this Sunday. So it's the only page that I typically update every week. And it has our pastor's note at the top. It has the sermon title. It has things that are going on that Sunday. And that's kind of the main kind of driver. Just if somebody is coming to look for what's going on that Sunday, instead of just a broad overview of what you're all about, that's the page to drive people to. And that's, it's updated. And then you can also share any upcoming event stuff on there as well. So I think across the board, as many places as you can put it, that you're going to maintain. That's another thing. We like to jump into everything, but it's like, well, if you don't have enough time to do Facebook really well, don't then jump into, I won't say Twitter anymore, but let's not jump into the newest social media platform just to be there. But if you have the time to maintain them all, I'm of the thought process that the more places that you push out, your content and your live stream and whatever. Like our live stream goes to Facebook. It was going on Twitter, but I've ceased that this week. It goes to LinkedIn. We have a church LinkedIn page. We do it to Twitch. We stream it to Twitch, YouTube, of course. So there's at least 5 or 6 platforms that I'm pushing our live stream to. So, and of course, some are more, are populated as far as who's viewing from where, but just pushing it out. I will say, even if you're looking to expand into places, it's not just about pushing your content, it's about joining the conversations. So let's not just use our Facebook and our Instagram, which is the main reason why we use them, of course, and we do too, to push photos, to push, events, to do that. Also go jump into conversations. So there's groups that on Facebook, for instance, like for us, like Nashville LGBTQ plus. The church's Facebook page is actually in that group, and we will comment as the church, or just general, community groups or neighborhood groups, to jump in, just to get into the conversation. It's also great places to share those Facebook events into, because, hopefully you're joining groups that make sense to share that information. And it just gets the word out. I don't know. There's so much opportunity. We've even had people. I'm really active as Glendale on Reddit, and that is kind of a random space that I don't think I've seen any churches have a church account on. If you're really good at having conversations and trying to, get in there as the church, we've had 2 people that have filled out our visitor cards in the last probably 6 months that have come from Reddit, from seeing us like engage on Reddit. And I never started engaging on there thinking that would actually be the case, but it's actually working. So you just never know, as long as you're, kind of, I don't know, there's just so much opportunity to not just push our information, but to really engage with people. And there's so many people that are looking for churches, even on a place like Reddit. And then kind of the subreddits for your general area, like for us, the Nashville subreddit and all that stuff. So there's just a lot of opportunity for us to push it to the next mark. And it's not that it's making it more challenging. I mean, there's definitely time consumption there, and I hear it from church leaders, I don't have time. I'm doing everything. I'm the social media person. I'm the worship leader. I'm the this, that, and the other. So I know that doesn't work for all churches, but just trying to think outside of the box on how to be engaging instead of just pushing our content. So I think that's superbly important. Somebody asked, can you demonstrate how to create a Facebook event on a page? I will do that very quickly. Let's see if I can share my screen. There we go. I'll just use can you see, here's our Facebook page.
Yep.
Really quick, let's see. Guess I probably should have done this before. Go to
And
events.
how did you get everybody to wear purple t-shirt?
Yeah, so we have an annual congregational photo. So actually, I'll show you. I'll get back to the event here real quick. So we have an annual congregational photo, and I will say people like the purple more than 2019 when I made everybody wear a pink shirt. But I will show you that, and this is another way just to kind of show the story. We take a lot of photos also, if you can tell. Actually, it might have been an Armin post.
Do you have a designated like volunteer photographer, or do you just ask for people, hey, send me any photos that you've got?
Yeah, so I typically take most of them, but there are people now in the congregation that know I'm probably looking for photos, so they just send them to me. So if you have some people that might sit on the front pew that would, kind of have a good like angle in worship. I mean, we're taking pictures of the children's time or of and of course get photo releases, of course, I'll put that out there. But acolytes going down the middle aisle, even the things that might not just show your congregation. I mean, you might not think, oh, I need to take a picture of the acolytes, taking in the light, to light the candles during the prelude, but that's a great photo moment. So just always looking also, what can I take photos of to show the life of our congregation? I will say, since I'm looking at our live stream from Sunday, Camera angles are so important, like, making sure the sound works and stuff on your live stream and making it a good experience. But the angles that we use for our live streams and even photos and whatnot, I see a lot of churches that don't have a lot of people in the pews showing this back angle and the cameras at the back, or how they have, something mounted on the wall and they're showing all this empty space. So even looking at your live stream, if we're showing an empty sanctuary, is that really getting people who are maybe watching for the first time or whatnot? Are they actually going to come check you out based on the experience? If you have a bad live stream experience, that's actually pushing people to not come worship with you in person. So I think it's important that, again, it's looking from the outsider. Is what you're pushing out going to get somebody to come visit? That's not always the goal, because some people don't live physically near you, so that might not be a thing. But are we actually making people not want to come, visit based on what we're pushing out? So I always remind churches on that as well, just to make sure we're watching our photo angles and our camera angles to make sure we're maximizing. And actually in our sanctuary, these first three pews, as you can see in this angle right there, I have people that sit there on purpose to make sure there are heads in the camera at that angle. So even, I don't announce that from the, announcements. It's people that I know won't mind doing that. But if they see a hole on those sides in the first three pews on both sides, they purposely go sit there. So there's heads in the camera for that angle. And, I think we had 100 people in the sanctuary on Sunday. So we had a good amount of people. But when your people all sit at the back, or they sit in pockets, even 100 people in your sanctuary can either feel full some Sundays or can feel like there's big gaps. So just making sure that camera angle is satisfied is a good tip, just to make sure. If you have an
How much,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
how much do you encourage the pastor to engage with the online audience?
Yeah, that's so important. So we're making sure that we're speaking at the camera too throughout worship sometimes. We are engaging, as you can see right here in this comment. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving, but that first comment, we're engaging as the church. So when somebody comments, they're like, "Hey, good morning." We're like, "Hey, good morning, so and so. Glad you're here with us in worship." A lot of our churches just let people comment, and they want people to engage in the comments, but the church isn't engaging back. So why are we expecting them to, they can't build connection if they're not being engaged back with. So, I would, in some churches, even larger churches here in Nashville, they have somebody who's kind of I don't know what they would call it, but the host, I guess, and they're using their own, personal account to say, "Hey, I'm the host for this church today. Glad you're here." I mean, that's better than nothing. But if you can trust a few people, if it needs to be rotation or it's just one person every week that's commenting as the church, I just think that's so much more impactful for, if especially a first timer, to say, "Oh, this church, like, they welcome me." It might not be in person, but like they're trying to engage and see how we are. We also are big on, we're still at the size to where we can ask for prayer requests during worship to the congregation, and people can share those live. We also encourage people online, and that's actually written into one of the parts of worship before we get to the pastoral prayer time, that says, somebody will stand up and say, "Hey, if you're joining us online, please share your prayer requests in the comments, and we will lift those up in prayer here in the sanctuary in the next few minutes." To where after we get done with in-person prayer requests, I'll stand up at the lectern from my laptop and read the ones that have come in through the comments. So if you're joining us from home, you still feel it's those connection points that you still, as best as we can, make somebody feel like they're sitting in a pew and are being,
Yeah.
connected with, just as though they were sharing a prayer request there.
So the pastor doesn't need to have an iPad and watching to see, oh, so and so just commented. Thank
No,
you
I
for
mean,
your
you
comment.
could, if you would like to multitask, how we do it, and you will see a laptop. Our copier was not working, so we could not print bulletins or the liturgy. So our pastor, she had a laptop up on the pulpit this Sunday, which is abnormal. That does never happen. But let's see, of course it's not, let's see. Well, it's acting weird, but I can't get to the prayer. There it is. Oh, so you can see, so she's taking live prayer requests, and I'm standing over there on the right, and I'll share the prayer requests that are coming in on Facebook and YouTube Live. So there's just a lot of opportunities to interact. Also, during the offering, I'll have, let's see if I can skip to it. Let's see, sorry. No. Anyway, it's not helping skip through right now, but even during the offering, like I'll have all the ways on the wall behind, and I know not everybody has projectors, but it's all the ways to give to support the church. But even in that moment, say, if you're joining us online, and I'd share about our Pew cards. So if you're joining us online, there's a link to our online connection card in the post, which is there. So there's different ways to kind of have this kind of next step connection here. But if this is your first service, but I mentioned that. So like even finding every way in your service to say, hey, there's a link to our online connection card. If you're joining us online, we'd love to know you're here, while you're saying to people in the pews, hey, fill out the guest card. We want to know you're here, however you would say that. And there's ways on how you can give if you're joining online, on the post. So I think finding any way throughout the worship service, whether it's prayer requests, ways to connect, ways to give, to make sure that, and when we're looking at the camera as well, when we're speaking to them, make sure, that just makes it a little bit more authentic for the person online. So yeah, if you have an outdoor marquee sign, utilize it. Our churches have a bad habit, especially the ones around here that are on main streets. We're kind of tucked in a neighborhood, but the ones on main streets that just say online, worship with us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. And it's like there's so much more you can say on there. So I think really, whether it's this kind of messaging, all of our churches are across the theological spectrum, so we might be different than you. But just utilizing the sign, I mean, people know, actually, if y'all know Gwen Watson, she joined our Glendale family a few weeks ago. She was a member of University, UMC in Las Vegas, and she has been with us since she moved to Nashville and officially made it, was a member or became a member like 2 weeks ago.
Wow,
Um,
she was our North District administrative assistant.
yeah, exactly. And then, of course, Paul Gomez, while he was in Nashville, he's still an affiliate member of Glendale. So there's some connection points with y'all, with us. But when Gwen shared, she actually found out about Glendale because of one of our anti-racist signs, messages on our sign that was shared online before she even moved to Nashville. So she knew about us before coming and said they're going to be on my list. And here we are. So you just never know the value of, somebody reading even a sign message. And these always go well, like 250 people like this. I mean, it's free advertising of, if you want to show what your church, cares about and your theology and your core values, put it into words that are not so traditional and churchy and, I don't even know the word there. Like put it into practice. It's that faith into action is even something like this. So I think that that's just an opportunity. So anyway, there's just you can peruse. I won't go through this. You can peruse this at your leisure if you want some ideas. But let's see. Let's create an event real quick. Are we doing good on time, Christina? I don't want to commandeer.
Yep. No,
All right,
we're
cool.
good.
So as you can see, we do a lot of events on Facebook. I could probably do more than we even do, but here we are. And so you just create an event. You need to have, you can use your cover photo here, but if you have an event image, that's where it goes. Event name, it's really easy. Date, time, if it's in person or online, put some details in here. You can add co-hosts. So if you want to add your pastor, if you want to add other organizations, if you're having, then it'll share on their page too. So that's really helpful to kind of add if you're doing an event with the food bank or if you're doing an event with another church, it'll show on their event list too. So better to spread the word. Another thing that I've thought of just from this question about sharing information, reach out to other churches near you. They don't even have to be United Methodist. Ones that will actually share your event. I might add that caveat in there. But if you have a trunk or treat, or if you have an Easter egg hunt and you know that they don't do it, maybe they don't have a ton of kids, maybe they just don't have that event every year, or maybe it's a special event that, it's a learning session on, we just had one on suicide prevention, like those sort of things. Share that information with other churches so they can put it in their emails and put it in their, promote it on their social media. Not every church is going to do that, but we saw, I think about 5 churches promoted our trunk or treat that are around us because they don't have one themselves. So free advertising, you just have to ask for it. And if they say no, they say no, but it can only help. Really just adding details and some co-hosts, you create the event and it's done. So it's a really easy way. And again, remind your people to invite their Facebook friends to it once you push it live. And then you can actually go in and invite people who like your page or, whatnot. So.
So I noticed a lot of our churches don't use events. They'll just put a post like a graphic and
Yep.
event information, but they won't use the Facebook events.
Yep.
Um, can you share a little bit about why they might want to use the Facebook events, or is the post good enough?
I think you can do both. I think this is called, this is do a mix of content, no matter if it's an event, focused event, or just anything else. Don't just do all text posts, don't do all photo posts. I will say photo posts are great. Like that's probably the most of what I do. But I think you can do both. So do the event post, and that's the way that you invite people. The perk of doing that is not only is it going to, I think it alerts people that, let's just say us, Glendale UMC created an event near you. So it already pushes a notification to some people. And then it also will remind people. So if somebody is RSVP'd or if somebody has said they're interested or whatnot, it'll remind people as the date gets closer. I don't remember, sorry, I don't remember what the time frame is on that. But anyway, so there's also reminders built into the system. Then also just do a photo post because those actually get really good reach. Like that's why I like photo posts. Like if you boost it, which if I'm talking over anybody, I don't mean to, but there's always a boost post option. I boost every post on our Facebook page for at least $1. I mean, I pay for it myself. It doesn't come out of some church marketing budget. And I know a lot of our churches don't have money for that. $1 goes far. So if you're not boosting any of your posts, I would change that one up. Anyway, it so grows your reach. And I'm getting nitty gritty here more than I thought I would, but when you boost a post, the best thing that I used to do when I was still growing our page's audience, and now we have like 5.3 thousand followers, which supposedly people think that we're a lot bigger than we are. Which is I'll take that. And we are a lot bigger than we used to be, but I would target people who like your page and their friends. And I think now it's called like people who like your page and are similar to them or something like that. I would do that, and that would help build your audience. At least there's kind of a connection point, or it's similar people. I don't know how it actually targets if it's not their friends, but that's probably the best way to at least start growing your audience. What I do now, since we have such a large audience, and some of our posts you also, since we're on the more progressive side, some of our posts don't need to go to a general audience because it will then elicit some negative feedback, I would say. So if those are your types of posts, if you I just typically use people who like your page because that's already an audience that wants to connect with you that has already chosen to. And then from their engagements, it will then widen the reach based on who they're friends with on Facebook. So it's kind of a natural thing, and it's super successful for us. But I boost everything $1 or $2. It doesn't cost that much, and I would say, even this post right here, if I hadn't have boosted it, it might have maybe 30, 50 people maybe. But since I boosted it, it went up to 250. Got a lot of shares, comments, those sort of things. So yeah. Let's see. Any questions or thoughts on that before I kind of move on?
Fabulous. I know there was different ways of, I haven't done media buys on Facebook in a long, long time,
Yeah.
but I'm sure it hasn't changed too much that there were different ways in case people have never done it, that when Steven says, I spent $1 or $2, like you can choose up front how much money you're going to spend by putting a cap on, only up to this amount total or this amount per day. Or you could just say, this is per engagement. I'll pay $1 per engagement or whatever. So um, if you haven't ever done Boost on Facebook, um, give it a try. It doesn't just do it and then, oh no, it took all my money. You're setting the boundaries so you can feel comfortable experimenting with this. If you set the boundaries and maybe make it so that the audience isn't going to be huge, I just want maybe 1 mile around my church to see this. Maybe it's that. And so then the whole time you can see how much it's going to cost. And you either say yes or, okay, that was a fun experiment, but no, I'm not going to do it.
And I'll boost to our whole audience in the United States on most of our posts. If it's an event situation to where you kind of have to be in person, then I'll change it to Tennessee. I won't even change it to Nashville because we have people driving in from like 45 minutes to an hour to come to our church. So there's opportunity. We think there's still a mindset of our church is like the community right around it. That's got to go away too because we have people that are driving in. I don't know y'all's locations per se, but I would assume it's the same to where, you're going to reach people further out. And again, back to the live stream just for a second, we've had people watching our live stream for months before they've actually walked in the door. And again, some people aren't ever going to because they don't live in, even in Tennessee. But it's not just they watch it for a week or two and then they come the third week or whatever. It's literal months because people want to make sure you're consistent. And they don't like just pick up a great Sunday where you didn't say something terrible from the pulpit because that's what their experience has been in the past, at least for the people that we're reaching. But even on this one, there's Paul Gomez, speaking of. But even like the voting posts, like engage in that conversation. Of course, we can't say who to vote for or anything like that. It's got to be very general, middle of the road, as it should be, as the church. But anyway, just even how do we put our faith into action and show that? And it's something like voting, like we're called to go vote. I mean, John Wesley talked a lot about that. So how do we utilize that's a core value or a theological point. So how do we engage into relevant conversation even through our posting? So a prayer, this came from, I don't know if anybody saw this post that was floating around, but just engaging to be comforting, to be that place of peace. So I don't know, there's just a lot of opportunity. Sunday brunch, oh, there's Glenn there at the bottom. So anyway, you can just see that we show, aside from live streams, we show, the life of the church. There's when she joined. That was her joining post. So trunk or treat, I don't know. It's just showing the story of your church. What's going to make somebody want to come? And maybe you don't have a lot of kids in your congregation. We didn't for years. So how do we, without even that, a lot of our churches, they like to put, I've noticed they put generic clip art's not the right word. There's just those images that they find online. I'm not finding that word in my mind. But these staged photos that aren't representative of their community. And if you don't have a lot of kids, don't put photos of kids on your website. Like that's inauthentic. And when a family comes, they might come once and be like, well, this wasn't right. Like this is not what I saw. And I know this is outside the bounds of social media, but I think what's so important is on our church websites. I could do a whole, Christina, you didn't know you were going to get all this. Sorry about it.
No, I love it. I love it.
Good. On our church websites, what sets your church apart from the next one down the street, no matter what the denomination is? If your church about or belief page just says we're a Trinitarian Christian community and we believe in the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, and it's just kind of this generic Christian lingo, well, I'm pretty sure most people are going to say, well, I think that's probably what you should be believing in the first place. So I didn't really need to read that. Our About Us page, actually, I'll just go to it. Better to show than. Um, totally missed that. I guess I mistyped that. Let's try that again. All right. So, I think one of the things that I've noticed is, again, all churches just say kind of the same thing. Like there's nothing that's pulling people to come like that sets you apart. So our About Us page starts with, so what sets Glendale apart from the church down the street? And then I go into, most pretty much what I just said to you. Most church website belief pages say some version of the same thing, vague. However, once you get connected, you might come to find there's they're welcome has a full stop. You are welcome here, or everybody's welcome have become hollow phrases. So no matter where your church sits on, inclusion or not, I hope I'm not overstating that in this group, but at least own it. I think that unfortunately we're in a place, and I wish that, I know a lot of our churches are Big Ten, our denomination is Big Ten, and there is strengths in that. I do think that at least what we're seeing is that people need to know. I think that's why websites like Church Clarity exist. It's because people are continuously more so wanting to know, am I going to a church that believes similar to me in some of these, the hot button, social issue things. So own what if you just kind of this generic, all are welcome here without really explaining that. If your church will not do same gender weddings, have that on your website, own it. And that's okay. But people just need to know, because the harm of churches come from this kind of generic welcome, to where then people get invested and then they find it's not really the place for them. And then they might not check out the next church because they're just done. And we've created that kind of we've created that issue. So I think we just really need to own where our local churches are on wherever that is, and that's fine. But that creates safer places for everybody to really kind of connect and grow those relationships, and trust the church. So anyway, I go through kind of some UMC stuff that I don't typically see on local church websites. And I don't know, just own who you are. I think that's the best point of your church website. If yours just says the same Christian general belief stuff as the next church, why is somebody going to come to you? And just, I think that's really important. So anyway, yeah, I think that was my big like website thing. Just the being true to who you are, being authentic. And the people who have worshiped with us online, I think that that's what's important. That's good feedback for any church to receive, is that when somebody's been worshiping online with you for months or however long, when they come, they should be able to say, and that's what we've heard, which is the best compliment: I knew exactly what I was going to walk into here, and it didn't feel any differently than it did, minus of course being at home or wherever they were. It's what I expected it to be. That's what we need to portray online. And, some of that is making sure our members don't overwhelm people when they come in for the first time and encircle them because they're new, or they have kids and it's like they rush, like even those things that are on that basic level of maybe needing to figure out. Or some of our churches don't talk to new people at all. It's sometimes it's the polar opposites. So how do we even nurture that amongst our people to be better, in creating that kind of safe, comfortable space for a new person, maybe giving the church one final, try. How do we create that? So anyway.
Let me ask you, so at Glendale, you have some people that are comfortable with, like, they're aware of this is being live streamed and there's holes in the front pew, so I'm going to go sit there so it looks like we've got plenty of people. What other types of volunteer people do you have? Some people give you photos. Um, some people are sometimes the online host for the worship service. What else
Yeah.
I mean,
So
if a church is wanting to step up, how
yeah.
do they need to resource?
Yeah. Our live stream, I know again, not every church has live stream, or maybe it's still a phone that's on a tripod in a pew or up in a window. We're all over the board on that. I think if you do have a live stream set up, having that person that's engaging as the church, if possible, of course. Um, we have somebody running our cameras that's a volunteer. I think our churches, we've also gotten into a space, and I know sometimes that it just has to be where we have to pay everybody to do stuff. And we have in our worship services, and this is outside the scope of marketing, but I think it's really been a shift, and it was one of the changes that we made. We have at least 20 laity that are involved in every worship service. So, a lot of our churches, the pastor does most of it, no matter the size, to be honest. There might be greeters at the front door and ushers, and maybe a liturgist that reads the scripture, but otherwise, it's pretty much clergy doing everything else, is what I've seen and how we used to do it. I mean, we have different people doing a welcome message, the centering time at the beginning, the opening prayer. We don't have a liturgist that does that all. A lot of our churches just have a liturgist that does every part that the pastor doesn't do as well. we have ushers and greeters too, but we also have three other people serving communion with the pastor. Acolytes, of course. I'm trying to think the person that does the online engagement, the person that runs the cameras. I'm doing the sound because I have the iPad that our sound works on. But there's even more. There's at least 20 laity. So how do we even engage? And that's another way. If you have live stream, you're showing your congregation and the different voices and the different how they look and the different ages and the all that even is something. And you're giving people an opportunity to serve. I mean, that's the most important. But like engaging and providing space for people to feel like they're actually giving of themselves and making a difference, even in something as simple as and not simple, I don't mean that, but like serving communion to where it's not just the pastor and the liturgist every Sunday. It's really mixing that up and giving more people options and opportunities.
For social media, so you've got someone for live stream,
Yeah.
and I mean, what does the church need to be thinking of if they're thinking like, well, maybe should we be on TikTok? Should
Mhm.
we be on Instagram? Should we start doing Reels or YouTube Shorts? How did they make that decision to do that?
Yeah, so I think that's a another situation where you have to see if you have enough time, you have enough video content. Some churches go the route of if they have a really, I don't like to use the word charismatic because that's a whole nother somewhere. I would say if you have it doesn't even have to be always clergy. It can be if you have somebody who's lay that is good at communicating and talking but having that, TikTok, a lot of churches take it as like the pastor and they do kind of short like clips and whatever of whatever topic, or maybe it's a mini sermon or whatever. I just think there's a lot of opportunity if you have the people power and some people to identify that would be interested and excited about that. We have a clergy person that does D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. He's a ordained elder. He comes to Glendale. He leads two gaming groups that meet every Sunday. There's two groups that alternate. So that's another, way that most churches don't engage community. And we've had people come into that group and then come to church because of it. So that's a whole nother discipleship path into the church. But he is big on like videos. So I've asked him recently to start doing like little videos to be able to post on, and it's about even United Methodist beliefs, like why do we vote in elections, or what is our theological uh, 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 beliefs and about communion and like what set us apart, like grace and I don't, there's so
Yeah.
much we can talk about in an engaging way to that might not necessarily set us apart, but at least we're talking and coming to the table with that content. So if you have people that can do that, yeah, definitely veer off into TikTok, and you can use a lot of that stuff. There's different time, allotments for the different spaces. So a story or a Instagram, an Instagram story is going to have a different like time allotment for the clip than a TikTok is, of course. So figuring all that out, there's some work there to be done. But I think if you have the people to do that, that would be, again, looking from the outside, is it going to be helpful in
Mhm.
connecting with new people? If it's going to be boring, if it's not the right person, I would just kind of avoid that, because you don't ever want to do anything that's going to be like, I'm not going to go there because that was awful. And I don't
Right.
mean to be, it just is what it is. So I will say it's so easy if you're doing Facebook well. You got content, you're already in that mindset of like, let's take photos of this event or that event, or after Sunday, even just get a few people in the pew together after worship and say, hey, can I take y'all's photo? And then like it's like scenes from Sunday. Just do a few things like that to where people are, I will say something that's important before I forget it is, when Gwen joined or when any of our new members join, I always ask them for an intro bio type thing. It's very short. Our pastor reads it out before we get into the membership liturgy, and it's about, it's whatever they want to share. Um, Typically a little bit about them, where they've come from, their church kind of background, why they were looking for a new church, and what about Glendale made it the place that they wanted to call home. And that story right there, especially not really the about, like the details of where they work and all that stuff, like that's important, I think, to be heard by the congregation, just because that might be peak some, conversation things. But that part about why they were looking for a new church and what about Glendale made them choose us, that is always the so like our these stories. I mean, they are so impactful. And again, we're reaching mostly people that have been excluded by the church, that have not been in the church for years. So those stories are a little bit more probably impactful than, oh, I moved from here to there. And that's why, I was just looking for a new church. But I've just come to find out that people have really good stories to tell on this one. And not only is that read aloud right before the membership liturgy, I use it in the social media post when I post their photo by the sign with their name on it. I use it on our website. We have a new members like section on our website of posts. Where else do I use it? I feel like I use it other places too. But I also push that out. I even push it on our LinkedIn and tag them if they're okay with it. So then it like tags them that they joined our church. So there's just, aside from just the photo of them, people might identify or be similar to their story as to why they were looking for a new church, or their experience in the past of being excluded or kicked out or whatnot, to where that would just encourage somebody else to be like, well, if they found that church to call home, maybe I can too. So I think doing that, that it's like free content that is so good. And how do we use that everywhere we possibly can to help encourage somebody else that might be in a similar place? As far as Instagram, that's the easiest one. That's where I was going before I went off on that. It's the easiest one to just jump into with Facebook, because you can post from either. I always post from Instagram to Facebook. I just found that to be a better route, but some people post Facebook and then it goes to Instagram. It doesn't really matter, I guess. But you can post on those if they're photo posts. You can do it simultaneously, so you don't even have to do both. So and with threads, you can just we have a threads account, and I don't really do a lot on threads, but when I post on Instagram, it posts to our Facebook page and our threads account. So it's three social channels, three audiences in one post. So let's make it as easy as possible. Again, I mean, I joined Blue Sky as Glendale. And we already have like 240 something, I think I looked yesterday, followers on there. So it's a time when something is being popular, or is I mean, there's a mad rush to Blue Sky at the moment. We'll see if it's sustainable in the future, but right now it's a great place to like even get new people that might not follow you on anything else, but there's a huge United Methodist presence on there already. So I think it's a really good place to kind of be in conversation, and to engage with people that, again, might not follow. I think there's a ton of people right now on this following Glendale on Blue Sky that don't follow us on anything else, because I've never seen some of these names. So I think it's just an opportunity. How do we look for opportunities that will, again, maintain well? Don't just jump into something to, whatever. I will say it's really good. I'm really big on having the same URL or same domain for everything, username. So it's harder and harder to do that these days. But we jumped into the game early, and every time there's a social channel that I think we might get into, I go and I squat on that username, and just to make sure everything's consistent, because you can find us at Glendale UMC on everything, and that's our website domain too. So I think making sure that we that's just something that's easy to, because we can put all the social handles at Glendale UMC, and that's where they find us. I mean, that's a great like marketing opportunity too. So of
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen.
course.
We're nearing the end of the hour. I mean, it's just been jam-packed with great content. So I really appreciate your presence and everything that you're sharing, personal experience and stuff from other churches. I mean, I learned quite a few new things. I'd never heard of Blue Sky, so I'm going to check that out and create an account for DSE UMC.
Awesome.
Um,
And there's not a
so
lot of
what I'm
churches on there. I've seen I know Hollywood UMC is on there, which us and them engage back and forth a lot. And there's a few other United Methodist churches, but it's just a great space, and everybody's really talking a lot, and really kind of
Mhm.
using that space right now. So hopefully it holds out and it continues to be a good place for engagement. So you would probably be the first conference that jumps over there. So pioneer opportunity right there.
Nice. Well, I'm also planning on, I mean, you're inspiring me. I was thinking about our YouTube channel and how, like, we go through spurts of viewership with specifically with the Tuesday Talks. And I thought about, like, I went on TikTok years ago to learn how to use it, like years ago. And so I've got some puppy videos there of my dogs and was thinking, I'm going to try to, oh, Horizon Texas Conference is on Blue Sky or what? Ah, yeah, they beat us. That's
Forgot
fine.
it.
That's
I
fine.
forgot about that.
That's okay. So, I wanted to learn a little bit about TikTok so I could share with churches, hey, don't be afraid. This is how easy it is. And now I'm thinking, I might repurpose the Tuesday Talks content to be more bite-sized nuggets here and there, and I'll put that on TikTok or Reels and share that whole process with churches. The point here is just give it a try. I think that what Stephen is sharing is be wherever you can be and in a way that the church is going to be a positive presence, that people are going to want to join your church. People are going to hear the message that they're looking for. Don't be wherever you can be just because you can, but I don't have time, or geez, I hate this, whatever, then that's not for you. If you have a big budget, maybe you can pay for a team to help do this stuff. But I'd I would guess that most churches were relying on volunteers or that one really outgoing person that's just like, hey, I'm already doing this for all this other stuff. I'm already going to do this. So, sure, I can do that for the church. Um, what is the best combination for your church? It sounds like it depends on the people that are already engaged in your church, who are passionately involved, love the church, and like to do this sort of thing. So, it may be a group of people, it may be one person. Certainly don't pressure people to do it all. Just what makes sense, and then go back and review. I'm thinking. I like doing Tuesday talks, but I don't like to waste people's time, and so that's where I had quit doing it for a while because the viewership was dwindling, and now it's going up a little bit. So maybe it's worth the while, but I'm going to try TikTok to see if that's a better approach or Reels, and we'll go from there. I'm sharing that because same thing for churches. Like, just give it a try. If you're interested, if you're excited about it, you've got something to share, try it and then review it and see how it's going. But like Steven said, it may be that your YouTube live is, or Facebook Live, whatever, where you're streaming your worship service. I think he said that it took months for somebody to join, and some people may never join. But if people are there, then that's where the church needs to be, I guess. Any last words, Stephen?
I just think everything that we do needs to be authentic. I think our churches um, go into a space of we need to reach, well, this is the common one, as everybody knows, preaching to the choir. We need to reach families with kids. Well, if you can't force that. You can provide space for that, and hope for it. And, when somebody walks in your door, you have something good to share or to some, group or whatever. I think being authentic has been our saving grace. We didn't force inclusion. We didn't force, we're going to be, it's also the missions that we do, the activities that we go out in the community and do, it's based on the passions of the people that are there now. It's not because we've always done them. We've let things go. So I think making sure that we're kind of always, and, I don't mean this in a go off the wall, but like reinventing ourselves too. Like I think that is so important. And our churches worry so much about, who's going to leave or who are we going to upset or, this, that, or they're the one, they have the power because they write the checks. I had somebody in the parking lot that left and they said, you're having people leave this church, people who write checks. Well, in my mind, I didn't know how to respond to that, but sometimes the people that would leave because you want to push forward and to grow and to really open up the doors to all people, um, maybe they need to leave. And I think we need to be okay with that. And it might cause some struggle at the beginning, but you just never know what people who I feel like some of the similar people they're probably the ones holding us back, that are saying no, or that are being the ones in the back pews that are being negative during worship, or those sort of things. And like I've just come to find out, and it's easier once we've kind of grown and moved into this new season, we're not the place for everyone, and that is okay. I used to not feel that way. It was like when somebody'd get upset and they'd leave, it'd be like, what can we do to fix it? What can we do to make it better? And of course, there's space for that. We can always do things better. And there's going to be failings. But I've also come to terms with we're not the place for everyone, and maybe another church is a better fit. So I think if we could all get into that, I think we would have healthier churches too, and hopefully ones that would kind of now move into a new season of growth and revitalization. So
Yeah, look at your church. Some people maybe left, but it's your church overall has grown.
that's substantial.
Let
I mean,
God cook.
night and day, night and day. So it's been exciting. I mean, everybody likes each other. There's no drama, no church drama behind the scenes. And I think a lot of our churches can't really say that. And I am praying for that to last as long as it can. But it's a whole new group of people together that just like to be there, and none of the, the stuff of the past. So I think we can really move a lot more of our churches into that space if we just take some more risks.
Fabulous. Well, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everybody that's watching the live stream or the recording. You will all get my meeting notes. I will share well, you're watching this, so you don't need the recording link. Maybe you do. Maybe you want to watch it back because there's so much great content. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you especially to Stephen for joining us. I'm definitely going to invite you back and over and over.